Are we on? Oh, wow. Yeah, we're on. Sorry. I want to thank the elders and the church for allowing me to do of the work that y'all have been supporting since 1999. Y'all have been supporting this work in Guyana and Suriname since 1999, and we really appreciate it. And I tell you, a lot has happened in that 23 years, 24 years, 24 years. A lot has happened. Even David Compton went on the second trip into Guyana to finish up the church building that we had started in Oriella. So he's got a sense of what we go through and what we do, just a little bit. I can figure this out. Let's see. Which button do I push? The big button? One on the side? This is new to me, so which one do I push to advance?
It's going to be that one.
That one. Okay, perfect.
And then the other one goes back.
Okay, good. For whoever will call on the name of the Lord will be saved. How will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how will they believe in whom they have not heard? And how will they hear without a preacher? And how will they preach unless they are sent? So we are very fortunate that y'all send us. We're a small team. There's Wayne Pruitt, Tim Davis out of Arkansas, and Bill. Can't think of his last name right off. Anyway, Bill out of Arkansas as well, and then another gentleman out of Arkansas, Mike Inman. So we're a relatively small team, but we get a lot accomplished in that time frame. This is backwards for some reason. Maybe not. Okay. The congregations that we've established that we're working with since 1999, Oriella was the first one, and that's the one that Brother David got to go on. But these are the churches that we've established or we're working with. And actually, we established Oriella, Superuta, Apura, Dora, Paramacatoy. Well, we didn't establish Paramacatoy. Blackbush, Good Hope, Parika, Wakenham. We didn't establish Wakenham. But this isn't the right presentation. This isn't the right one. Sorry. Let me get that straightened out. I got two different presentations, but this isn't the one. No, that's okay. I didn't think things looked right. I just thought maybe something was backwards. It's number 7. Number 7 should have been on the desktop. But I have my glasses up there. Should be something about number 7. If push comes to a shove, I've got the drive.
You got it. Might be faster.
Hey, that's okay. This is what happens to us in Guyana. You always have to be ready for Plan B in Guyana. So this is exactly what happens to us as well. We can lay plans out and hope that they go good, but in all actuality, we end up having to go to Plan B, sometimes Plan C, and sometimes Plan D. Sometimes you need to change your plans completely and just do something different. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. While they're doing this, I'm going to go ahead and read the announcements. Okay, please pick up your bulletin, of course. Dawson Blackshear, he's recovering at home. I didn't speak with him, but I spoke with Monica yesterday, and he seems to be doing okay. Shoulder replacement surgery has got to be. I've had shoulder surgery, but I've never had shoulder replacement surgery. So, Beverly Young is here this morning. Please continue to remember Dennis Clemens in your prayers. Also remember Judy Parsley in your prayers. Her blood test revealed an abnormal cell which your doctor wants to monitor closely for now. They have stopped her treatments completely. Remember Bobby Donarama in your prayers, Tommy Harris, who is having health issues. Megan Yates' father suffered a heart attack and is not doing well. I think they are up there now in Columbus, I believe it is, Ohio. Ryan Frederick's dad, Ron, is recovering from surgery. Former member Mike Wilson will have a PET scan to determine treatment. Please pray for him. Maynard Boer is in Baptist Beaches with COVID pneumonia, so keep Maynard in your prayers as well. You are invited to a gospel meeting at Oceanside Church of Christ October 8th through 11th this year. The speaker is Joe Wells, and the theme is Jesus the Answer. See the bulletin board for times. Last to Leaders there will be a Last to Leaders kickoff today following services. If you're interested in participating or helping in the program, please plan to join us. Food will be provided. Exposure Youth Camp. If you are interested in attending the Exposure Youth Camp December 27th through 30th, see David Compton by September 27th. That's past, so. They are also in need of chaperones. Christians in Action, stop by the Christians in Action room, classroom number 4, and write a card to someone in need or who needs encouragement. Don't forget to include the complete address. These are the weeks to participate, A through F, the first Sunday of the month. The Lakeside Church of Christ will host Polishing the Pulpit Spark, October 1st through 4th. See the bulletin board and for the schedule of events. Free for all attendees. Registration is required. And then mark your calendar for this year's hoedown at the Morris's on Saturday, October 21st. So, are we there? We're there. Okay, good. And I've already done the introduction, so there's one of the critters that you inspired. He snuck in in my suitcase on the way over. Guyana. Just to give you a little history on Guyana and its population in that. Guyana is bordered by Venezuela, Brazil, and Suriname. It has a population of approximately 773,000 people. 90% of those live along the narrow coastal strip, which ranges from 10 to 40 miles wide. This is only approximately 10% of the nation's 83,000 square miles of land area. So if you can imagine 10%, 90% of the people live in this little area that goes along the coast of Guyana. The literacy rate for Guyana is approximately 88.5%, which is pretty good. Guyana gained their independence from the United Kingdom in 1966, but still remains a commonwealth. And then the average yearly earnings is $9,410. They have since discovered oil off the coast of Guyana, and I don't know that number may have changed a little bit, but there's a lot of Americans coming in and out now that are working in the oil wells off of the coast there. Suriname is bordered by Guyana, Brazil, and French Guyana, and it has a population of approximately 564,000. Approximately half of that population lives in the capital city of Paramaribo. Their primary language is Dutch. However, they do speak English and they do understand English. And one of our preachers over there, he speaks Dutch. So, in one of the places one of the new congregations that we established in Wageni, they speak a lot of Dutch there, so we've had him translate for us as we do our sermons and that. Suriname, the literacy rate is approximately 95.5%, which is a little better than Guyana. And Suriname gained its independence from the Netherlands in 1975, and the minimum wage is approximately $3,400 a year, and the average earnings is approximately $24,000 a year. I don't know, that's kind of confusing to me, but anyway. There's the churches that like I said before, that we work with. A lot of those, if you look, if I can get this to work, just like the other thing, doesn't work. Anyway, we work. There's a river that borders Suriname, and that's where Oriella, Superuta, Apura are at, and we work that river. Oriella is approximately 50 miles upriver, and Apura is probably another 25, 30 miles upriver. Apura is one of the most remarkable places I've ever been. The Americans came in the early 1970s and they built a town. It's got cobblestone street. And I'm talking about in the middle of the jungle now. They've got cobblestone streets, they've got electricity, they've got running water, and they've got the houses, which now are pretty much in decay. Because in the 70s, right shortly after the Americans had built this town, they were overrun by the Amerindians, I believe it was, and ran out of it. So it was taken over by them, and now mostly Amerindians and that live in Apura. Again, Wagani is one of our latest that we have done, that we have started. Sand Pit, this last trip in, we went to some places that I had never been before. We went to Port Katuma and to Matthews Ridge, and you all may be familiar with Port Katuma. Port Katuma is where Senator Ryan was killed when he went up to visit, when he went up to see the Jonestown people. We'll see some pictures of that. We were blessed with the opportunity to be able to go to Jonestown and to stand where all of the people that passed away were at. But anyway, we went to Port Katuma, Matthews Ridge, and another congregation in Canal. Brother Wayne Pruitt is responsible for pretty much starting the church in Port Katuma and for starting the congregation in Matthews Ridge back in the 90s, I believe, early 80s rather. And so he wanted to go back and visit them. You know, Brother Wayne's getting up in age. I think he's 82 years old now, but he's still going strong. But those are the congregations that we work with for our small group, and that's pretty good. And like I said, we started Oriella, Superuta, Apura, Dora. When I first started going to Guyana, I wasn't doing evangelism. I was doing the building, helping to do the building work. So I had the opportunity to be able to help build Oriella's church, Superuta's church, Apura's church, Dora's church. Paramacatoy is up in the mountainous region on the border of Brazil. Blackbush is where Brother Derek Narine, who we support, where he preaches. Good Hope is one of the congregations that we started, and you'll see some of the pictures of that. Parika was another one that we have started. Suriname Creek was another one that we started in the last few years. Wagani, and then of course was Brother Wayne also started that one back in the 80s. Just there at the top is Nakiri. It says New Nakiri, and then right below that is Wagani. That's another little village. It's in the bush. It's still in the bush. It's just not. It just doesn't appear to be. This is the church at Oriella that we built. Brother David came in, and they put the bell tower. They came in and finished it up and put the bell tower and a few other things in there. And you see, it's got a bell in it. I think my third or fourth trip in, I had the opportunity to find a bell, and I took it in, and I don't know that it ever gets used, but at least we got a bell in the bell tower at any rate. This is Dora, beautiful little village. It's very sandy. It's along the Linden Road. It's about 3 miles off of the road on the Demerara River, and I helped frame it up. Me and another gentleman helped frame it up, and then Brother Paul, who is now deceased, one of the Amerindians that lived in the village, him and the villagers, they finished it up. It's, as you can see, nothing fancy. This is the one at Apura. That was an incredible story. We went in, me and Curtis from Tennessee went in. Brother Wayne sent us in to start building this church. So we get in there, and of course they had some extra telephone poles. But anyway, we had to find somebody to clear the land. So the Chinese are in there. The Chinese have got a lot of, they've been in there for years, but they happen to have a bulldozer, and they cleared the land for us. And then we got these old telephone poles to make the base of the foundation of the building. Well, we couldn't find a chainsaw. We couldn't find a chainsaw anywhere. So we dug the holes, and we put the posts in there, cemented them in, and then we had a handsaw, 2-man handsaw that Brother Curtis and I had to saw all of these logs with. Well, we were in there for about almost 2 weeks, and it was time to go. We were like, Brother Wayne was supposed to meet us there, and he hadn't come in yet, and we was like, well, we got to head back. We got to get back to Oriella somehow. So one of the gentlemen in the village had a boat. So this would give you an idea how things work. had a boat. So we had boat loaded up on a truck and getting ready to go down to the river, and here comes Brother Wayne. Brother Wayne and some of the team. And then we were telling them, look, we got to go. We did as much as we can do. And he goes, no, we can do more. We can do more. So we don't have a chainsaw or anything. See, I'll be right back. So in a few minutes later, Wayne comes back with a chainsaw. We had looked all over this village for a chainsaw. Brother Wayne is one of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life as far as getting things done. So anyway, we framed it up, and then another team came in and another team came in and framed it up, and then we came in and finished it up on the next trip in. That's the church in Superuta. Paramagatoy, that church that we just recently tore that down, and we raised the funds to build another congregation. That the termites had eaten this place up, so we've raised the money for them to build another church building, and the villagers are doing that now. This is Village 77. Brother Derek lives in Village 77, but he preaches in Blackbush. This is Brother Derek's church in Blackbush. Kingly, there's another story. When we went into Kingly years ago, we were just going in, me and Curtis were going in to just build a indoor toilet for him and a sink. Well, we get there, and the preacher and his wife are living in a little 10 by 10 room. That's all that's what they were living in. So we said, no, we can't have this. So as goes, we went out and bought a bunch of lumber, and we extended their living quarters to the length of the building and then out 20 feet. So now they had a decent place to live. That's canal number 1. This is how we begin our churches. When we go into a village, we don't have a building or anything. We'll convert, get some people baptized and convert some people, and we'll start having church services under a tarp. And you see just sitting on hard benches and under a tarp. This lady was the first person that we baptized, and she allowed us to use her house to do the church services at. And then there's the finished product, A Good Hope. And Brother Andrew, one of our preachers, powerful guy. Him and his people built that. Construction. He can do just about anything, and he does. This is the church in Nakiri. There again, that's how Parika started. We had been going into Parika because you got to go through Parika to get to Good Hope, and you catch a fast boat over to Parika. Over to Good Hope. And Brother Wayne said, this place is ripe. This place is ripe for the harvest. So we established a congregation there as well. And then a few years later, we bought this building, and this is where the church now is. And the preacher lives on the top half of that church right now. This is our church, our building in Wagani in Suriname. We bought this. The preacher lives in that middle section there, and the church is really at this time, because it's still a new congregation. The church meets over here on the right hand side, and then upstairs is where we stay when we're there. It's nothing fancy. It's just no air conditioning. As a matter of fact, this last time in, it was so hot that I strung a hammock up on the porch and slept in the hammock that night. Here's the church in Suriname Creek. This is how the church in Suriname Creek started. We had baptized this lady, and we were wanting to have a campaign, wanting to have a gospel meeting. So she offered us to have the gospel meeting under her house. So we got some boards and made some benches and that, and we had 50 people attend the first night that we had that church service. And then since then, we built a building there, and you see the rough walkway. We have raised that up since then. We went in one time, and we were just going to build a porch on the building, and the porch ended up being a 150-foot long walkway because of the rain and that. And the people that come, they come with babies and infants and stuff like that, so we didn't want them to have to traipse through that. This is just a short clip I want to show y'all. This is a creek going up. We were going to visit this individual, this man, that lived down this creek. Now I want you to imagine, you see, this is jungle. We're going down this creek, and there's all jungle all around us and all of that. Well, the gentleman that lives up there, he's the reason that we started the church in Suriname Creek. he would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now imagine this. You see what it's like in the daylight. Imagine paddling a canoe up that creek at 4 o'clock in the morning so that you could go to church in Good Hope, which is a few miles up the river. He would do that every Sunday. And we're like, there's people living all up and down that river that had not heard Christ, and they didn't have any place to worship. And they didn't really, quite frankly, have any way to get there, because unless you got a boat or something of that nature, you can't get back up to Good Hope. So we went up there and visited with him, and then we came back and we established the church after a year or so later. And I want to point this out. Out of one man, his dedication to the Lord, his son is now the preacher at Suriname Creek. And we have, when we have services there, we have that boat right there has about 45 people in it. So we've got 45, 50 people that come in one boat each time. And we've bought a couple of boats. We bought a boat, and we've got another boat that we're in the process of making a bigger boat than that we're going to put a roof on it, so that they'll be out of the elements a little bit. But that's 45 or 50 people in one load, and then they go back up the river and they pick up even more people. So that's how dedicated the people are. And that's Brother Andrew right there in the red shirt that you see standing there. This is the church at Sand Pit. It literally is a sand pit. It's not too far from Good Hope. And here we go again. This gentleman, the Amerindian there between me and Brother Wayne, he is the preacher at Dora. And he's now in the process of starting a congregation at a place called Long Creek. So here we go again, starting another congregation and going to be raising funds to build another building in Long Creek. Long Creek is an area that is growing in Guyana, so it's along Linden Road. It's not exactly in the bush per se, but it's just off of the road. We have a school of preaching in Good Hope. Good Hope School of Biblical Studies. Students from this school are preaching throughout Guyana and work with us in our mission campaigns. We just recently graduated 3 individuals from that church. The one is the one that's working in Suriname Creek, and the other one, Moses, he's working in Parika, and the other gentleman, he is working in Marumba, a place called Marumba. This is the school of preaching. The director of our school, Brother Jadu, and his wife Joyce, they live upstairs, and then the school is downstairs. This is in Good Hope, this building is. And when we're there, if school's not in, we usually will stay there, or we'll find someplace to stay, or we'll stay. Actually, Brother Andrew has now built to the bottom of his house. He has enclosed this area for us and any other missionaries that come, for us to stay when we're there. It's got a couple of bedrooms in it. It's got a bathroom in it, and so we've got a place to stay now in Good Hope when we go there, other than this place here. You know, our work involves planting churches, teaching, and baptizing souls through the following efforts: gospel meetings, teams with nurses to help people with minor medical issues, distributed Bibles and literature, and one-on-one Bible studies. When we go in, there's one team that comes in from Spring Hill, Tennessee, and they bring a nurse in, and they're not really, I mean, they are associated with us, but they've kind of taken over the work in Good Hope for us. In other words, they're supporting the preacher in Good Hope, and they bring a nurse in, and they do things, and we bring in over-the-counter medicines, and you'll see some pictures of that here in a minute too, of what we do. You know, because we can't do anything medically because we're not medical. Although Brother Tim Davis out of Arkansas, he is an EMT. But we have, our needs are Bibles, literature, clothing, over-the-counter medicines, reading glasses, prayers, and of course funding and travel for operating expenses. This is Brother Andrew, the preacher at Good Hope, and this again is another short video.
All right, we're here at Good Hope. Our brother Andrew here, he's the minister here, has been for 12 years, and
Can you all hear that
he's
okay?
been a wonderful minister here to preach the gospel, but also to take care of needs and help the people. And we
That's
were able
Tim Davis.
to come in here because of the David Henley Fund and hand out food to the brethren. And there's 3 different congregations here that we've been helping today. The Good Hope Church, the Suriname Creek Church, and then also a church that we've started helping in Sand Pit. And we were there a couple of nights ago. And then Bill and Terry were there today for their worship service this morning. But Andrew, just give the people back home a little bit of a thought about what does this mean to the brethren and having food give out like this.
All right, well, this means a whole lot for us here in Guyana. We struggled a lot, one, for job. We don't have a full-time job or permanent job. We only have part-time jobs. So sometimes or some weeks, we get some of our members only have the 1 day work or 2 day work. But this really means a lot for us. Secondly, sometimes when we farm or have our garden and it's rained too much, we lost everything and we have no alternative. So with this, Brother Tim Davis and his team, this is really a blessing. We also have in the church a lot of single parents. And being a single parent in Guyana, not having job, it is very difficult to raise our children. So on behalf of the church here in Suriname Creek and Sand Pit, we would really like to say a big thank you for all that you are doing for us. Our church tried our best, but sometimes the church doesn't have enough funds to offset people's needs. And this is really a great, great, great help for us. So I want to thank you again on behalf of the church, Brother Tim, Brother Bill, and Brother Terry. Brother Wayne just gone over to Puerto Rico to do a study. Thanks very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Bill. Good deal.
This is we contributed, we pulled our money together, but also Brother Tim, a gentleman wrote Brother Tim a check for $20,000 and said, I want you to use this money to buy food, nothing but food for the people in Guyana and Suriname. So as you can see, those are bags of rice. So they eat a lot of rice down there, but a bag of rice will last them quite a while. And then in that bag is some other things. In that bag those are the bags. And that bag contains flour, some salt, some split peas, some black-eyed peas, some oil, some ramen noodles, and some powdered milk. So that'll help those. A lot of them depend on, they'll go out into the bush and they'll carve out a little piece of land and they'll grow their food there. But as Brother Andrew was saying, a lot of times the rain will come and it'll be too much rain and it'll wash away their farm and they won't have anything to eat. And they don't, let's face it, they don't have a lot of money. So as far as the church in Good Hope, they can do only what they can do. So this helped them out a lot, and that's the things that we do. We don't just go in and take. We don't go in and take it all. This just gives you an idea of some of the things that we bring in. We bring in some clothes. This is at Dora. Seeds. Brother Tim and Brother Bill had a bunch of seeds that they brought in this time to give away, so that the people could have, be able to plant them and have some food. And then there's some over-the-counter medicines, which is Tylenol, ibuprofen, just stuff like that. Just things to help them through their little aches and pains. And then we advise them too, don't do we don't give them the bottle, but don't just take one or just take half of one or something of that nature, because they're not used to it. They're just not used to the medicines that we have over here. So, and there, of course, there's Brother Wayne. He put on his optometrist hat, and he's giving them, helping them with reading glasses. This is a house. Well, this is a place that's 2 doors down from our house, from our church in Puerto Rico. These people, 7 people live in that little place right there. 7 people live in that. Their house burned some time ago, and they don't have the money to rebuild. So what we have done is we raised some funds, and Brother Andrew and a team are going to go in, and Brother Andrews is good at building. Brother Andrew's going to go in and they're going to build them a house. They're not members of the church, but what does Jesus say? You know, we planted that seed, and you never know. You never know what may come of that. And the people in the town in Parika and that may see what's going on. And so, you know, like I always say, you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you can't count the number of apples in a seed. So we're doing what we can to help the people as we go along. This just gives you an idea how people live. This is some of the houses, or whatever you want to call them, on the creek, on Suriname Creek, and a couple other places. This is actually how somebody lives. It's no walls or anything. Just string a hammock up, and maybe have a bed in there, but that's how they live. Somebody actually lives in that. This was a few years back. The Kamala Indians came up from the border of Brazil to Apura, and they established a little village right outside of Apura, and it's just an example of their construction. This dirt floor. You see, got a little bed over there with a mosquito net on it, some hammocks strung out to sleep in. There's all their pots and pans and that. They cook outside mostly. Now, how would you like, this is wash day. How would you like to have to go down to the river and wash your clothes when it was time to wash your clothes? They go down there and they wade in they stand in the river, and then they got these paddles that they scrub them, and then they beat them with the paddle. And I tell you what, on my first trip in, that's some of the cleanest clothes I'd ever had was what they had washed for us in the creek. Now keep in mind too. Now I don't think this is in the Suriname area, so they may not have any. But in Oriella, they have piranha, so the people have to go into the piranha infested waters and wash their clothes. We were going from Suriname back over to Guyana, and at the time the ferry that takes you over was broken down, so we call it backtrack. So we had to take a boat and go across. They still had immigration in that setup. It's a whole other world over there. But we were going to wade out to that boat, and these guys were standing on the shore, and they said, no, you get on our back and we'll carry you out there. I said, no, you can't do that. Well, there's an example of it right there. That's Brother Tim right there. You saw how big Brother Tim was. This guy, and me too, hoisted us on the back and hauled us out to that boat so that we wouldn't get wet. Of course, they do it for money. You give them a little bit of money. This is the boat. When we first started going into Guyana years ago, we had to take and David probably had that opportunity to ride in a banana boat. Just for like 12 hours, you'd ride on this banana boat. You'd get to Oriella in the middle of the night. You'd leave during the day, and you'd get to Oriella in the middle of the night. But now they've got a boat that goes to Oriella. But let me show you how we travel when we go on that boat. You string a hammock, and you swing in that hammock for about 6 hours. It takes half the time, but you swing in a hammock. What you do is before the tide goes out, before it's time to go, you go in and you string your hammock, and then you go do whatever you got to do, and then you come back and you get in your hammock when it's time to go, and you swing in that hammock. This is the boats that take you over to Parika. We call them fast boats because they're fast, but the water is really rough sometimes, and it beats you to death. But anyway, that's one of the ways we get. And this is just an example of some of the boats that they have in Suriname. Can you imagine your child in that? That's a dugout canoe. Can you imagine your child paddling up and down the river in that dugout canoe? Look, it's missing half of the one side, but that's how they get around. There's another dugout canoe. Those two gentlemen. There's examples of Bible studies how we do our Bible studies. This young lady, I baptized her. I had the privilege of baptizing her whenever the church in Parika, when we were first starting the church in Parika, 7 years ago, I think it was. And she came up to see me and wanted to take a picture. Wanted me to take a picture with her. So I'm gonna have to send that picture back to her. But 7 years, and she's still faithful to the Lord after 7 years. Brother Wayne doing a Bible study at Sandpit. This was in Matthews Ridge. This is up from Port Katuma. We had to go from Port Katuma to Matthews Ridge. Now there is an airport. Well, you call it airport. There's an airstrip in Matthews Ridge. So next time we go to Matthews Ridge, we'll probably fly in because we flew into Port Katuma. You have to fly in from Georgetown to Port Katuma. This was another Bible study under some people's house. These two young couple here, the gentleman is 86 years old and his wife is, I think, 82 or 83. But they live in that house, and it's real short, so you have to, they're short people. They're only about like that. And so in order to get under that house, you have to duck, and I bumped my head quite a few times going in and out of these houses. Just another example of Bible studies how we do our Bible studies. You see, you just stop, sit down on the ground, and do a Bible study, just like probably just like in the first century. These three young people, you'll see pictures of them in a few minutes. Brother Bill in the green shirt and Brother Tim, they studied with them. This is a church in the canal up in Port Katuma. That's the church in Port Katuma. That's the inside of it. That's the church at Matthews Ridge. Now we're in the process of trying to decide. We're going to start working Matthews Ridge a little more too, because it's fallen away quite a bit, and the church building is in decay. So we have to make a decision as to whether we want to try and repair this church building or if we want to tear it down. Now, the pillars that are underneath it are pretty sound, so the decision is to whether we want to raise money to build a new church or if we want to raise money to just repair this church. And that's the inside of it, and as you can see, you can't see the floorboards real well, but you had to watch where you were walking because the wood was not in really good shape. And this is a church on the canal. This this church is very active, and they have a lot of members that go here. But there again, they have to get there by boat. This is church. Now Brother Wayne didn't found this building, but this is in New Amsterdam, which is in Guyana. One of the larger cities in Guyana. But Brother Wayne came in the 80s and established a congregation there, and they have since built a new building, and they worship there. This is a church in Linden. This is another church that Brother Wayne established back in the 80s. He didn't establish this building, but established the congregation. And they have a building now, and underneath is where we're planning on doing their Sunday school classes. And then this is upstairs. This is where the actual church goes. And the preacher there, he actually is a self-supporting preacher, which is unusual in Guyana. Of course, he lives in Linden, and Linden's somewhat of a town, so he's able to support himself. We had the opportunity to visit, if any of y'all are familiar with Jonestown, Guyana. Excuse me, where Jim Jones was at. It's, believe it or not, it's still, nothing's there. It's just jungle. The jungle's taking it all back over. This is another video. I think we got time for this.
All right, we're standing on the site of Jonestown, Guyana, where in November of 1978, over 900 people were killed on this very site. It took us about a 30-minute drive from Port Katuma to get here. As you can see, we're pretty much in the middle of the jungle, nothing around here at all. But this is where Jim Jones brought his church. A little bit of history about that. Jim Jones started his church in Indiana in the 1950s. He started his own church. It grew a little bit, but he decided to move it to San Francisco, where the church grew to about 20,000 people. The church gave a lot of things to the needy: food, health care, things like that. But in exchange for that, they had to give all their money and possessions to Jim Jones. Well, in the early 1970s, he began to get some bad press, and he decided to move his congregation down here to Guyana, to Jonestown. So in the mid-1970s, he brought about 1,000 people down here and promised them utopia. And that's what you see around us right now. Very hot, very humid, and nothing here. And when the people got here, he took their passports and he made them work hard all day. And if they didn't work, he would punish them, sometimes throw them in holes and punish them for all day long. And a little bit later on in 1977, Congressman Ryan came down to investigate. He heard about this and he came down, and it was at this point where we flew in on the airplane to Port Coutuma, where he was gunned down along with some of his members. And then Jim Jones came back here and made over 900 people drink some punch. We call it drinking the Kool-Aid, and it had poison in it, and they all died. And it's just really amazing how people can be led away by not following the true God. And Tim's going to talk to us a little bit about that right now. Tim?
Well, Jesus, we know that he went to the cross and died and was buried and was resurrected. And he walked around the earth for 40 days. And then he ascended back to be with the Father. And as he ascends back to the Father, he says, all authority on heaven and on earth has been given unto me. Well, that means we listen to Jesus. Jesus is the one we listen to. We don't listen to somebody like Jim Jones or anybody like that. These people are of the devil. They lie. That's how he got these people down here. When, like Bill said, utopia or paradise or whatever you want to call it. Well, the jungle is the jungle. It doesn't matter what country you're in. This is hot. It's humid. If you like that kind of weather, that's okay. But for those people these people came from San Francisco, where the weather is just pretty much perfect year round. It's in the 70s, just really nice climate. And then to come to this, it had to have been really disrupting to their lives. But Paul gives the warning to Timothy. Timothy's a young missionary. He's instructing him on how to be a minister. And in chapter 4 of 2 Timothy verse 3, he says, a time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions. In other words, they're going to say what they want them to say. And it's dangerous because you can't put your trust in people. You got to put your trust in God, in Christ Jesus. Jesus is never going to lie to us. And the way he communicates to us is through his word.
Amen.
We got to stay holding close to the truth. Standing here amongst all these, this is just, it's an eerie feeling standing here. I mean, there's people, there was over almost
Where we were at was actually where the 900 people
lost
were
their
laying,
lives
were
here.
dead, and right where we're
And
at.
there's going to be millions upon millions of people that listen to false teachers, and when they get on the day of judgment, they don't have no hope because they believe the lie. And we've got to search the truth for our salvation. This is so important. So we just wanted to take this opportunity while we were here. I've been coming to Guyana for over 30 years, and I wanted to come here. Never had the opportunity, and here we are. And it is it's very humbling.
Yes.
And it's very serious to know what folks.
Listen to what Brother Wayne says real quick.
Go ahead.
and
Yeah,
then move
I
forward.
know when I was down here back in the early 1990s, I came here and I walked out on this place here and I found a little baseball glove. It buried in the dirt. And I found some other things. And I'm thinking to myself, here was a little boy, it was promised. This is going to be a utopia. It turned out to be hell on earth. And that little boy came here, but now he was poisoned. But not only did it happen here, Jim Jones also called those in Georgetown that had supplies coming to, Port Coutuma here. And he says, it's time for you to kill your children. There was 3 children. The lady went into a room and with a butcher knife and cut their throats and killed them, and she committed suicide. One lady was not a member of this, and she was begging her not to do this, but she did it anyway because Jim Jones called her over the ham radio and said, now it's time to do you got to commit suicide. And
Anyway, that's a monument that they have there. That's all that's left of Jonestown, really, is that. For whoever will call on the name of, we already read that in the other one. These preachers right here, they're a lot of our preachers. When we couldn't go down there because of COVID, they came in, they stepped in, and they went around the country to the churches that we are at and did gospel meetings themselves. I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look unto the fields. They are white already unto harvest, John 4:35. So what is the return on your investment? What is the return on the investment that Lake Forest Church of Christ invests in? It's souls saved. And as we had 22 baptisms this last trip in, 22 baptisms. So 22 precious souls. This isn't all of them, but you'll see some of them. 22 precious souls. That's one of those young men and the young women that you saw in that one picture where they were studying, and that's them right there. New creatures in Christ. They're new family, new brothers and sisters in Christ. And then again, later in that evening, we had some more baptisms that night. And these these are in Wagani, Suriname, and they put on Jesus in baptism. One's 11 and one's 12-year-old girl that decided to do that. And now, I want to tell you, since I've been going to Guyana, I've had the opportunity to work with John Wayne, Elvis, and now Muhammad Ali. That gentleman's name is Muhammad Ali, and I couldn't resist doing a picture with him like that. But so be surprised at the famous people that you meet when you're down in Guyana, right? So there's our mission, our story. Do we have any time for any questions, or anybody have? If you don't, then if you want to ask me some questions afterwards, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Thank you.